Hello everyone. Thank you for taking our time to watch this video. Today we are going to understand how do we create the VPCs and the other concepts practically. I'm going to use console, so we'll get started. So first is we log in into our console, um, and then you go into the VPC. You can search like this, and you get this screen of VPC console. In this VPC console, you have all these options here. First is your VPC. In this, it will show all the VPCs. AWS by default creates one VPC, but for now I have deleted that default VPC. What are we going to achieve? Let's try and understand that first. So this is my VPC, and this would be my CIDR block, and it will have two subnets, one public and one private. We'll look into the route table concept as well once we do it practically. So let's start with creating the VPC. Here it is. Let me give the name my VPC. I'll put IPv4 manual. I'll use this. If you have seen my CIDR block video, you would understand the number of IPs that you would need. This 32 minus 24 equals to 8, which is 2 raised to 8 is 256. So my IP range would be from 0 to 55. So this is the IP range of my VPC. I'm not going to select the IPv6 tendency and everything is default. Okay, I'll create the VPC here. As you can see, VPC is created. That information here. Let's look at the route table. So this is my main route table. When I say main route table, link to VPC. It can even link to subnets, etc. It is local. Destination is VPC riders or VPC IP addresses, and within VPC. That's the route table. It's what is mentioned here. Destination is all the IP addresses within VPC and target local. Now we'll create the subnets. We have created this VPC. Now let's create the subnet. We first create the public subnet. Here we have to select the VPC. I give it name as public subnet. You can select any availability zone. And let me select. Here I have selected /28. So when I do /28, what would be my IP range? 32 minus 28 is equal to 4, which is 16. Okay. My IP address range would be 0 to 15. Also note one more thing. In VPCs, 5 IP addresses are reserved. So you actually use 11, and in this case 251. Just keep that in mind. So I'll create the subnet here. We create one more subnet. It is my private subnet. We keep the same availability zone. Now, let me do one thing. I will use the same CIDR. See what do you get here. See, it is showing CIDR address overlaps. Why it is overlapping? Because we have already assigned these IP addresses to public subnet. So let's change this, make it 16. You can even do it from here. Okay, this is the next range. So when I do this next range, it would be from into the data. Okay, now this my private subnet is also created. Let's check this. Now by default, when you create the subnet, the main route table is attached. Okay, but I can change this. We'll see this how we are going to do. One more important thing. See, this is public and private subnet. Currently, there is no difference between these two. What I have created. The difference would be when I attach the public subnet to the internet gateway. That is when it will become public subnet. It is accessible from the external world. Private subnet is not accessible. So how do you make it accessible to the external world? Let's see that. So first you go to internet gateway. Okay, I already have an internet gateway. What I'll do is I will attach this to my VPC. First you have to attach the internet gateway to your VPC. Okay. Here you can see your VPC. It has two subnets, and the linked route table is same main route table. This is one part. Now your VPC is attached to, sorry, internet gateway is attached to VPC. Now what I would do is I will link the public subnet to internet gateway. So how do we do that? It is using this route table. Let's do it. First I will go to route table. I will create one route table. Public route tables. This will be my VPC. This is done. So by default, the traffic within the VPC is always accessible. It's active. Let me add one more. Destination is any IP address. Internet gateway is my internet gateway, the one which we attach to VPC. Please note one thing: one VPC can have only one internet gateway. Now this is the route table, which is actually connecting to internet gateway. So when I'm trying to access any external address, it will go to internet gateway. And if there is any traffic which is coming from internet gateway, it will come to this routing. This is the table setting that we have done. But still, if you look in the VPC, Let's look at the tables. Even though I've created this, but still my public subnet is linked to main route table. But this main route table allows traffic only within the VPC. And see, this public route table is connected to internet gateway. Now let's connect the public subnet to the public route table. So here you can change the association. So instead of main route table, I will connect it to the public route table. This is done, right? As you can see, it will link to public route table. Let's see the resource map again. See here, public subnet, it goes to public route table and then my internet gateway. That is what we wanted to achieve. So if there is a question, how do you make a public subnet? The main important point is how do you connect the route table to internet gateway, and then that route table has to be associated to the public subnet. That is the important point. Now what I'm going to do is I will launch two instances, one in the public subnet and one in the private. Let's go to the EC2. Here you can just directly type EC2 and you will be in the screen. These are my old instances. You can ignore it. Let's start. So first I will create the public instance. I will use the default ones. So these are the OS images or AMI. Then free tier eligible. No cost for that. You need to select the key pair because this is what we are going to use to connect to the instance. See here, I can select in which subnet this instance should be launched. I have selected public subnet. This is in the network settings. And here I'll enable the public IP. And comes another important firewall, is security group. Let me name it public instances. Here you can see I'm allowing SSH from port 22 into the instance. This is inbound rule. Okay, and there is no outbound rule. We are fine here. Let's launch this. It will take few seconds. If I go here, it is initializing. Let it do. We'll create another instance, the private subnet. It's done. I'll use the same key pair. So it is private subnet. I can enable it, but I think it's not because it's in private subnet. Anyways, I won't be able to connect. And it's keeping it separate. Now, in the meantime, we will just look at the security groups. In the meantime, instances are launching. This is the security group. First of all, security groups are stateful. That is, if I allow this traffic, then I don't need to mention any outbound rules. Even though it's mentioned here by default, but it's not required. So any traffic which is coming in, it can go out. It maintains that state. That is why it is a stateful firewall, you could say. And it is applied on the instances. So if you look at this diagram, this is your NACL. NACL is the pub subnet level, and at the instance level, you will have security group. So there are two firewalls from AWS VPC. Sorry. Once it enters here, there will be checked in the NACL, and then public subnet, and then security group, and then instance. This would be the flow. So this is security group. Let's also look at NACL. Which is network access control list. So by default, when I created the subnets, so two NACLs, one NACL was created, and these were attached to the subnets. As you can see, it allows all traffic, and the roll number is also given 100. So the lower the rule number, highest priority. It has highest priority. So suppose if I make it 101 and I add this rule, deny. So what will happen here? First, it will evaluate this one. So as soon as it evaluates this one, all the traffic would be denied. So lower the number, higher the preference. You need to keep this in mind. This is one point about NACL. The other point is, like in security group, right? If one source is allowed, then I can revert it back without requiring the outbound rules. But in case of NACL, it is stateless. It doesn't know, or it is unaware of the inbound or outbound rules in mutual. So it treats inbound rule separately and outbound rule separately. That is why we have this outbound rules, and we need to take care of that also. In the current state, we are allowing. So this is about the network NACL. Now let's do the state of instances. Instances are up or not? Yeah, they are up. So I have my public instance. So let's see if my public instance is able to connect to internet. As you can see, I'm able to connect to my instance. Okay, to instance. Now let's see if from this public instance I'm able to ping google.com. As you can see, I'm able to. As you can see, my public instance in the the public subnet is able to connect to the internet. Hopefully you got this idea. Now let's do one thing. We will change the outbound rules. Let's first deny traffic. We have denied traffic here. You can see it has gone to reset. For this one, it will not even allow me to connect. In the same instance, but it's not working now. I'm not able to connect because I have applied the firewall basically, and I have denied all the stuff. Right. It get timed out. Yeah, got timed out. Now let me allow it. Once this is allowed, see, I am able to connect to the instance. That's the beauty of this one. And similarly, if I go to security group, I will delete. So now NACL allows it, but security group doesn't. What will happen here? Um, it is again not working. Now it has crossed NACL. Basically, it came from here. This is crossed. It got into public subnet. But when it tries to connect to instance, there is a security group. And this is where it is blocking now. Here, it is giving connection timeout. Let me again change it. I glide the rule here. Let me allow SSH from any destination. Here it is. It's done. Let's try again. Again, I'm able to connect. So hopefully you got this idea. And later on, in the next upcoming videos, we'll see how to identify whether the traffic was brought in at NACL or security group. Just to recap, we created this AWS VPC with this CIDR, which has 256 addresses, and we created two subnets, one public and private, one internet gateway. Internet gateway is attached to VPC. One VPC can have only one internet gateway. We made this public subnet connect to the internet gateway using the route table, and this is the entry. The first entry in the route table means local traffic within the VPC. Second entry, destination can be anything, but it will target the internet gateway. In the private subnet, we are using only this main route table, which is local within the AWS. So within VPC, sorry, not AWS, within VPC, it can access anything, but not outside. We can do it via NAT gateway. We'll figure that out in the upcoming videos. So for now, this was the demo in AWS. practical demo. We shall also do one demo, similar similar exercise of creating VPC subnets, route tables, etc. using the AWS CLI. For now, thank you. Hopefully this video will help you. Thank you so much. Have a good day.